Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Karen Tamley. I'm President and CEO of Access Living, Chicago's Center for Independent Living, and one of 22 centers for independent living across Illinois that supports the rights and the opportunities of people with disabilities to live the lives of their choosing. For 45 years, Access Living has been at the forefront of the fight to dismantle systemic barriers and create new opportunities for people with all types of disabilities. It's my honor to welcome you all here this morning for this historic bill signing of the Dignity in Pay Act. This is a groundbreaking piece of legislation that will phase out the subminimum wage for people with disabilities in Illinois and push forth new investments in community integrated employment opportunities. Today, we celebrate this hard-fought victory for disability rights and economic opportunity for our community. For decades, disabled workers have faced the injustice of being paid less than a minimum wage under waivers permitted by the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. Yes, you heard that correctly, 1938. This legislation is more than a law. It reflects the belief that everyone deserves a fair wage and the chance to contribute fully to society. It's a testament to what is possible when advocates and lawmakers and community members come together to address systemic barriers in the fight for change. And I'd like to offer my sincere thanks to everyone who worked so hard on the passage of the Dignity in Pay Act. Self-advocates, disability advocates, centers for independent living, legislators, our community partners who supported it, and even our own team here at Access Living. I just want to give a shout out to Nick Boyle. I don't know where you are, but I think you're here somewhere. Oh, there you are. Okay, great. I'd also like to recognize, and I don't know if she's here, but Taryn Mackenzie Williams. Are you here? Oh, there you are. Awesome. Taryn, I'd like to recognize you because as of 11:59 yesterday afternoon, you concluded your service as Assistant Secretary of Labor for Disability Employment Policy. And you really provided so much leadership at a national level, taking steps around the 14C program under President Biden's administration. And I want to thank you for coming out to this really important bill signing today. This historic achievement would not have been possible without the leadership of our partners in state government, particularly Governor J.B. Pritzker. Under his leadership, Illinois has taken truly important steps to advance accessibility, equity, and opportunity for all of our residents. Your leadership has been instrumental in making the Dignity in Pay Act a reality, and we are so grateful. And now it's my great privilege to turn over this accessible, adjustable podium to our governor of the great state of Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Keep going. Maybe I can hide behind it. Great. Oh, Karen, thank you so much. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Thank you all for being here. What an exciting day. Really terrific day. I'm going to make sure to turn this off. I will. Is that better? Great. Well, good morning, everyone. I really am so proud to be standing here alongside so many champions and advocates for people with disabilities. Together, we strive to make this state a place where all can lead enriching, independent, and comfortable lives. Today, we take another step forward toward fulfilling that mission as I affix my signature on the Dignity and Pay Act, ending the practice of sub-minimum wages for workers with disabilities. Illinois is closing an era of an outdated two-tiered wage system that lets disabled workers make less money for their hard work. There are simply too many people to thank today, but I'm going to try to get to a few of them, and my apologies if I don't hit everyone, because that's not my intention. We really all deserve a round of applause. Everybody in this room played a role in making this happen. But I want to acknowledge a few of the partners whose tireless efforts helped to get us here, starting, of course, with Karen Tamley. Yeah. Every day, she and the great people here at Access Living of Metropolitan Chicago do the work that needs to get done to remind people that there's progress still yet to come, and that we all ought to be on board with that progress. I also want to recognize the many advocates who work in organizations across Illinois on behalf of people with disabilities. And of course, my many partners in the General Assembly, many of them are lined up in the front row here, and of course behind me. Yeah. It is a wonderful thing to be a governor of a great state that is making progress moving forward, but it does not happen without the work of members of the General Assembly on both sides of the aisle who care deeply about advancing the cause of lifting up our people with disabilities across the state. I am truly grateful to the bill's sponsors, Representative Teresa Ma and Senator Christina Castro. I want to recognize my first assistant deputy governor, Ryan Croak, who just moved to the back of the room. Wait, wave your hand again so everybody can see you. Yeah, Ryan. I just want you to know that, I mean, there was not a moment when the fight for the Dignity and Pay Act was being fought when he wasn't engaged, walking in and out of my office, walking in and out of the offices of so many of our senior staff to make sure that we were all on task to get this thing done. And there's nobody who celebrated more and expressed more emotion when it did pass the General Assembly than Ryan Croak. I just want you to know how much he cares. And of course, I want to recognize my partner in governance, the great Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. And the Illinois School for Visually Impaired choir, thank you very much. Set a terrific tone for today's celebration. For too long, our state has left workers with disabilities behind. Thanks to the incredible work of the advocates that are gathered here today, Illinois will finally be a state that rewards all work and all workers with fairness. We are sending an unequivocal message across Illinois and frankly across the nation that nobody should underestimate or undervalue the labor of persons with disabilities. Hereinafter, workers with disabilities will be compensated properly with the dignity and respect that they deserve. Workers like Tyson Bedford, a self-advocate from Geneseo in Henry County, who is with us today. Tyson worked for sub-minimum wages. Tyson worked for sub-minimum wages in his early adulthood, and he decided to use that experience to fight for this bill in the General Assembly. Tyson is now a financial wellness trainer who supports other individuals with disabilities to achieve economic independence. Thank you for your work. There are many others like Tyson across our great state who deserve to be compensated fairly, who deserve a fulfilling and independent life, and so we express our gratitude to them for their spirit, their hard work. I'm sorry.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear. Can you hear me better now? I lean in. Okay, I'll try to be louder. That's hard to do. I'm pretty loud. But we really do owe a debt of gratitude to the people all across our state who, like Tyson, have put their spirit into this and hard work, of course, in this fight. And they've become role models for all of us. And while only a small portion of our disabled brothers and sisters have been employed at sub-minimum wage, this bill will help break down the pernicious stereotypes about the worth and potential of people with disabilities. Yeah. Now, countless policymakers and staff members and state employees brought their diligence and creativity to the crafting of this legislation to help ensure that the wage increase comes with minimal disruption to employers, too, and does not come at the cost of jobs. And I want to recognize that we've got the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce CEO with us, Jack Lavin. Thank you very much for being here. I've worked with Jack for, 30 years maybe, since he was in state government, and he is somebody who cares deeply about making sure that the business community is working together to advance our state with all of us who care about advancing the rights of people with disabilities. Countless folks like Jack are here in the room, and again, I'm not going to recognize all of them, but the strength of this law is that it not only sunsets an unfair wage policy, but it puts an unprecedented emphasis on expanding employment opportunities for people across the spectrum of disabilities, strengthening rates, programs, and training opportunities for employers who are dedicated to the independence and support of people with disabilities. Illinois really has so much to be proud of, and the Dignity in Pay Act is yet another moment of triumph for working people all across our state. Now, yeah. I want to conclude today by calling attention to the new reality that our country is facing and saw take place in Washington, D.C. Yesterday. President Trump has returned to office, and the new Republican administration, unfortunately, is already enacting an agenda that will increase consumer costs, hurt working families, cause layoffs, and hold America's economy back. Individual rights are under attack, causing fear for, people with disabilities, for pregnant women, for legal immigrants and temporary migrants, for LGBTQ Americans, small business owners, and so many others. Our Midwestern values are under siege. Recently, I've been asked if there's anything that I would work on together with this Republican administration, and the answer is, of course there is. When it comes to doing good things for Illinois and for our working families and for people all across our state, I'll work with anybody. Recently, our efforts to pay disabled workers a fair wage started playing out in Washington. There was an effort to introduce this and get this done in Washington, D.C. The Biden administration proposed a federal policy that would take Illinois' policy nationwide. Now the ball is in the Trump administration's court, and I'm hopeful that they will work with us to lift up disabled workers. We have a bipartisan coalition of people who believe in this here in Illinois. We have legislators, we have people all across the state who belong to both parties who care about this. The federal government ought to adopt this policy, and I think we can all help them do so. At such a critical time for civil and labor rights in this country, Illinois is doubling down on our commitment to protecting all of our citizens. In doing so, we are solidifying our status as a place of welcome and opportunity for all. And with that, I get to hand this podium over to truly a champion for the rights of all Illinoisans, my partner in governance, Juliana Stratton.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you, Governor, for your kind words, and as always, for your dedication to Illinois. I am overjoyed to be a part of today's celebration, and in the interest of time, I will echo the Governor's appreciation for all the work that went into guiding this bill over the finish line, especially to the lead sponsors, Representative Ma and Senator Castro, and all of our partners in the General Assembly. To every community organizer, advocate, and member of the disability community who put their voices together and pushed hard for the dignity of all workers, you have my utmost admiration and gratitude. A few months ago, my office convened a group of women right here at Access Living as part of my We Thrive initiative. And thanks to the incredible leadership of Karen Tamley, President and CEO of Access Living, we came together for a We Chat to discuss the barriers that specifically face women with disabilities on their path to financial wellness. By the end of our conversation, not only had these women shed their light on their personal struggles, they had also advocated on behalf of the broader disability community. Here are just a few things that we heard in that discussion. The world doesn't expect us to do great things. I wasn't poor enough for assistance, but didn't make enough to live. When the laws were written, people didn't expect people with disabilities to get jobs. The laws haven't evolved. Alarming as they were, I accepted these words as a gift. In offering me invaluable insight as to how I can better serve the whole of Illinois as a leader, they captured some of my passion as a neighbor and friend. The problems they highlighted in that conversation were not unique to women. They are issues facing every person living with a disability. And to that end, I stand here today alongside these remarkable partners to applaud a crucial step forward and acknowledge that this is only a fraction of the dignity our disability community deserves. The Dignity in Pay Act is a foundation on which we get to build. We're changing the floor, not the ceiling, of how employers engage with employees with disabilities. By legally implementing a base of honor and respect for one another, we are empowering employers to benefit from what every employee has to offer. More importantly, though, we are clearly defining the minimum wage as a right, not a privilege, for those with disabilities. It is no charity to welcome people who are different from us to the table. In fact, it is an essential act of community preservation. Let me be clear. There is no Illinois without people with disabilities. You are, yes, it's true. You are woven into the fabric of our home state as much as everyone else is. And I'm excited to continue building a future that emboldens all of us to thrive together. Hear me when I say, we stand with you, we stand for you, and we always will. With that, I'm so excited to pass it over to someone I got to meet this morning. And I asked her, what can I say about you as I introduce you? She's told me, first of all, she's a dancer. So am I. She then told me that she is also kind and generous, which I noted very quickly when we met. And she also is a powerful disability advocate. Please welcome Erin Compton.
Congratulations, everyone. We did it. Just one generation ago, babies with disabilities were institutionalized, taken from families, and communities. Today, I stand before you because people believed that our world could be different, that my life absolutely would be different. And so it is. My job at the Chicago Cubs through an organization called Angels for Hire is proof that accessible employment is possible. As a SARTAC fellow, the ICDD and I are studying how the disability system makes wellness inaccessible. This law helps make financial and vocational wellness possible for all. We must work together to build new futures. Schools educate and listen to make student dreams accessible. Employers make careers accessible. Legislators keep fixing the broken system. People with disabilities dream big. Let's prove that people with disabilities are not broken people in a normal world, but normal people in an inclusive world. I would like to welcome Senator Castro.
Let me see if I can make this work. Is that good, guys? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm State Senator Christina Castro, and I represent the great city of Elgin. First off, before I get into a little bit of my speech, I do have to thank a bunch of folks who have made this possible. Obviously, my Springfield roommate, Representative Teresa Ma. Representative Ma and I introduced this bill, I think it was in 2018, and it was viewed as an obstacle by many, like, oh, that's never going to happen, it's never going to happen, it's never going to happen. Hey, it did happen. I also have to thank Ryan Croak, Amanda Elliott, everyone at DHS, Nick Boyle, who was on texting me, calling me, and all the advocates, and I'm going to forget people, so forgive me, I don't mean to, but also my colleagues, both in the House, in the Senate, and I see Senator Adrian Johnson, Leader Maddie Hunter, Senator McConkey. This bill was passed bipartisanly because this is an issue that it doesn't impact by party, this impacts everybody. And so I thank them tremendously for their support and advocacy on this issue. This one is very personal to me. My late mother had a dear friend of hers who is also now passed, who had a daughter. Her name was Concepcion. She would work at one of these facilities, and she would come home. She would go to work every day. She would go to the facility, and she would come home with a check. It was usually $1.50, $5, and her mother felt her daughter had more value than what that check was. She really felt that that organization was taking advantage of her daughter because she had a disability. And she asked me then, many moons ago, how do we change this? And it was, she is now since gone. I think she's been gone for 15 years, but I have not forgotten. And today, when the governor puts pen to paper, I would have kept my promise to Gracia and her daughter, Concepcion. And so I think that's one of the things when we talk about making impact. Thank you, Governor. Thank you to our Lieutenant Governor. They stood behind us when we kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and now this bill is going to be a reality. So with that, I'm going to introduce my partner in crime, my roommate in Springfield, Representative Teresa Ma.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Teresa Ma, State Representative of the 24th House District, and I am absolutely elated to be here for the signing of House Bill 793, Dignity in Pay. It will become law of the land here in Illinois. I want to begin by thanking Governor Pritzker. His action today will allow Illinois to join 17 other states, a number that is growing, but these states have taken steps to eliminate the use of the Department of Labor's 14C waivers, which currently allow individuals with a disability to be paid less than the minimum wage for their work. Once signed, Illinois will begin the process of phasing out the use of these outmoded certificates and ramping up systems and supports that will usher in a new era for the treatment of people with disabilities in our state. No longer will individuals who have untapped potential be subject to a one-size-fits-all assumptions and unfair treatments just because of a disability. My excitement today is not just because we are making history here in Illinois, but also because of all the hard work, advocacy, and activism that it took to get here. To say that this was a challenging bill to pass would be an understatement. There was a lot of opposition. My own involvement in serving as chief sponsor began 7 or even 8 years ago, but there were many before me who had been fighting much longer, and many whose continued advocacy and commitment were absolutely critical to making this day possible. Everyone in the disability community who attended press conferences, spoke to their legislators, sent letters and emails, and made phone calls, rallied in Springfield, and kept up the fight over the past 7 years. We truly could not have done this without you, and I want to thank everyone involved from the bottom of my heart. There are too many individuals to thank. There were so many people involved in making this possible, and but there are a couple of people that I just have to be mentioned because we honestly would not be standing here today without their involvement. First and foremost, you heard his name before, Ryan Croak, who has been he's been a dear friend since we both worked together in Governor Quinn's administration. Ryan was the one who brought me the bill when I was a first-term legislator back in 2017. At the time, he led the Illinois Network for Centers for Independent Living. His passion and tireless commitment to getting this past the finish line was unsurpassed. His belief in the fundamental value of the dignity of everyone's work and justice for all was what kept us going, even when the decks were stacked against us for so long. I also can't go without acknowledging and thanking Joshua Evans, who will be the next speaker after me. Josh leads the Illinois Association for Rehab Facilities, and it would be impossible to count the hours that he spent visiting and talking to member organizations, some of which had already made the transition, but some were still in need of convincing. And it was in many cases the deep discussions that Josh and the association had with their member organizations that turned them into advocates and supporters of the legislation and ultimately helped us to get this bill passed. In the audience today, we have representatives from 2 service providers in my district, El Valor in Pilsen and Putak Center in Chinatown. Where are they? Back there. I want to thank them for the work that they have done serving families in the disability community in my district and beyond. It is those families and the high quality services that they receive at these two organizations that have been an inspiration for me. Throughout my many visits, I was able to meet program participants that inspired and impressed me. I also saw what happens when programs are available that are tailored to individual needs and people are treated in a way that values their full humanity rather than categorized in a one-dimensional manner and paid less than the minimum wage because of their disability. I vividly recall a rally in the Capitol Rotunda back in 2017 when the chants of the crowd, a rotunda full of disability community advocates, rang out. Nothing about us without us. They were talking about policies that pertain to them and the critical need to include the input of self-advocates. Nothing about us without us. And today we can finally say to the disability community, today is all about you, and we could not have gotten here without you. Thank you, and let me bring to the podium Joshua Evans from IARF.
Forgive me, despite my stone-faced visage, I find myself a bit overcome with emotion with this issue with people that have come before me, so give me a little bit of grace as I get through my comments. My name is Josh Evans. I have the privilege of leading the Illinois Association of Rehabilitation Facilities, or IARF, which is Illinois' largest network of developmental disability and behavioral health organizations in the state of Illinois. It is truly an honor to be here today with Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Leader Ma, Leader Castro, and this room full of incredible advocates on what is truly, I believe, an historic day in the state of Illinois, in which, with the governor's signature, we join the ranks of states that will finally phase out payment of subminimum wage to persons with disabilities by 2029. That alone would make this legislation historic, but I believe it goes even further. I believe what this legislation will do is create a vision for growing and expanding and creating even more job opportunities for persons with disabilities around the state of Illinois. And I think that is important to recognize. And it's important to recognize that that work has already begun due to the leadership of Kim Mercer-Slidare with the Illinois Council on Developmental Disabilities, who I know is here somewhere. Due to the incredible leadership and work of the Department of Human Services, and I know various division staff are present, including the speaker that will follow me, Division of Rehab Services Director Ronnie Patrick. I know Meg with the Division of Developmental Disabilities is here as well. We love our acronyms in social services, but it's important to note that the Employment and Economic Opportunity for Persons with Developmental Disabilities Task Force, or EEOPD, has already begun the work that is promised with the Dignity and Pay Act. It is taking on the challenges and priorities that were identified in the legislation to create a vision for a better future in addressing the transportation challenges that people with disabilities face, both urban and in rural environments, of the training and support that staff will need at IDD organizations around the state to grow opportunities, as well as the funding that's going to be necessary in the long run to truly grow employment opportunities here in Illinois. It's a very diverse task force that I think is doing incredible work, and I know that by, I believe, later this year in July, that we're going to see even further legislative policy funding recommendations that could be put in front of government to continue to advance this work. And so it gives me great hope that in not too many years we're going to be in an even better place than where we're at right now. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the developmental disability providers in the room, but also across the state of Illinois and across the country. For so long, these organizations have been the vanguard in creating employment opportunities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in ways that we've not been able to accomplish writ large in the private business community. And they should be recognized for the creativity that they've shown to establish these opportunities. And frankly, we couldn't be where we are today without them leading that charge. And as I think it was mentioned about organizations that have transitioned away from payments of subminimum wage, we have to thank them for leading that charge. And we've got organizations as recently as this past year that have come up with creative ways and partnerships with private business to realize these goals. We have the Arc of the Quad Cities over in Representative Johnson's neck of the woods that started a social enterprise this year where persons with disabilities and without work alongside each other with private business to being paid at or above minimum wage. CTF Illinois, a similar enterprise down in Orland Park, also does similar and incredible work. And I think we'll see more of that in years to come as my organizations learn from each other. And so I salute them and I thank them. And then finally, I'll wrap this up by saying a couple of things. One is, again, this bill will establish a vision for the future. But despite all the laws, regulations, policies, and funding we can come up with, that partnership with private business, small and large, is going to be crucial to our success as a state to growing employment opportunities. There are hundreds of thousands of businesses across our state that are invested and recognize the true value of hiring people with disabilities. And my hope is that they will learn from each other, that they will grow these opportunities, they will learn more about the absolutely essential role that persons with disabilities can play in growing their businesses and growing the future of Illinois. Because without that, I don't know where we'll be. And then, finally, days like today give me incredible hope for the future of our state. When I see Representative Laha's beautiful daughter here, I think about the incredible opportunities that bipartisan lawmakers will have created with this bill and even more into the future. And then finally, I know it's probably been overdone, but I have to thank Ryan Croak as well. A friend, but an advocate before he joined this administration. And I say that because I'll just say, as an organization, we were not always in support of legislation like this. It took years of negotiation with stakeholders within our own organization and otherwise to arrive at this framework, dignity and pay. And it took the leadership of Governor Pritzker and this General Assembly in building back our social safety net writ large to create that trust within the provider community that now we have the leadership that we think is necessary that we can meet the challenge. And I remember, in an ancient history, which seems that way before COVID, being outside of a committee room, talking with Ryan, recognizing his frustration on a bill that didn't pass at that time, and thinking to myself, looking at him, although I don't think I said it, we're going to get there someday. We don't know what that time ramp is going to be, but I promise you we're going to get there someday. And we did it with this General Assembly and with this governor, with your leadership, Ryan, Access Living, and others. And thank you all for your incredible work. With that, I believe I get to hand it off to the Director of the Division of Rehabilitation Services and the Department of Human Services, Ronnie Patrick.
Thank you, Josh. Uh-oh, I just tore a bunch of tape. Sorry. Thank you very much. How is that? Sound okay for folks? Okay. So, hey, I'm Ronnie Patrick, and I'm the director of the Division of Rehabilitation Services, in which the Illinois School for the Visually Impaired, that's part of them. Can you please give that choir another round of applause? And let's give ourselves a round of applause for what a wonderful day we have here. All of you, thank you so much for all of your work. Abraham Lincoln said, to secure to each laborer the whole product of his labor is a worthy object of any good government. Today, our governor, J.B. Pritzker, acted on that by what's going to happen here, by signing the dignity and pay. And Governor, As a person with a disability, I am so forever grateful to you. Along with other disabled workers, there are 3,300 workers right now that are facing a future of being able to have protections of minimum wage thanks to you. So, Governor, and to the General Assembly members, thank you so much for bringing that reality. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, there's roughly 48,000 folks that filed for bankruptcy while they were trying to acquire wealth or somehow get Social Security. People with disabilities face poverty at a higher rate than people without disabilities. This bill creates a time frame, a place for people with disabilities to be able to acquire wealth and be able to contribute in society with their full selves, with their full abilities, with their full talents. And I'm so happy for this day. So thank you so much. The Department of Human Services, these civil servants can raise their hand at Department of Human Services. I'm so proud of you all. Casey Burke, Tanika Jennings, Robin Lewis, David Kriniak. Thank you all for being such good government servants. Without your tireless work with these organizations, there's 22 centers for independent living across the state. Thank you, John Herring, for being here. You helped people with disabilities to realize this with the Illinois Council on Developmental Disabilities. We have the Department of Human Rights here. Thank you to Director Bennett for your service. And I wasn't going to do all the name listing, but I'm just so overjoyed with this opportunity. And Ryan, I'm looking at you. Even though I'm nearsighted, I see you. I feel your presence here. Thank you so much for your tireless leadership. There are people who passed away. They're not here today, who fought for this, and they couldn't see that day and this day today, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. The Department of Human Services, Rehabilitation Services, Developmental Disabilities Division stands ready to be able to implement this wonderful act. We will be getting people competitive, integrated employment so that people with disabilities can express their full talents in this wonderful state led by Governor J.B. Pritzker. Thank you all very, very much. That's why I got to read my notes. And so I really appreciate all of you being here, and I'm so pleased to introduce an amazing leader, the president of the National Federation of the Blind in Illinois, Marilyn Green.
Good morning. Today, the members of the National Federation of the Blind celebrate the signing of the Dignity and Pay Act. Since 1940, the National Federation of the Blind has diligently worked to eliminate sub-minimum wages for people with disabilities, because it perpetuates low expectations and creates artificial barriers to competitive and integrated employment for all people with disabilities. We thank Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Staton, all the members of the Illinois General Assembly, and all of the disability rights organizations that worked so diligently for us to see this day today. I am overwhelmed and overjoyed, and I hope that today will be an example for other states that this state of Illinois will be an example, that our Dignity and Pay Act, signed here today in the state of Illinois, will serve as an example for states throughout our nation to demonstrate what bipartisan cross-disability organizations look like and how we can work together to create, to remove barriers and create competitive and integrated employment. And with that, I pass it to Audra Wilson, President and CEO of the Shriver Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Good morning, everyone. I'm sure you can hear me. In addition to being the president and CEO of the Shriver Center on Poverty Law, I'm also the chair of the Illinois Commission on Poverty Elimination and Economic Security. So thank you for allowing us to be here today. I want to thank, of course, Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Ryan, the man of the hour, Leader Castro and Leader Ma, of course, Karen Tamley and our wonderful hosts at Access Living, members of the General Assembly, and many other dignitaries, and I think everyone in here is a dignitary, as well as a full coalition of advocates who dedicated their time in getting this very historic legislation passed. Now, at the Shriver Center, we've long been committed to the elimination of the sub-minimum wage, and we've had the opportunity to work with so many of you in this room. But this is especially important so as to ensure that people with disabilities are included and valued in our society and can participate fully in our economy. And we are very proud to have been a very early supporter of this legislation. So it's an honor to be here. We also have a very special connection to this issue. The founder of the Shriver Center, Sergeant Shriver, was the president and first chairman of the Special Olympics, which was founded by Eunice Kennedy Shriver, his wife. And thinking about Anthony Kennedy, who is the CEO of Best Buddies, the largest international organization dedicated to ending social, physical, and economic isolation of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So the idea of supporting and promoting people with disabilities is a part of the lifeblood of our organization. I want to thank you for allowing us to be able to celebrate this wonderful day and for continuing to be a peer and a partner in economic justice for all people. So with that, I would like to introduce the president of Special Olympics Illinois, Pete Beal Del Vecchio.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't think it goes up any higher, so I'll come down a little bit. We've had so many people who have been so eloquent about this bill and all it took to get it to the table, literally this table, and what it means for so many people across Illinois, like one of my bosses, Aaron, over here, and our 23,000 other athletes across the state. The only thing that I want to add to what's been so eloquently said and addressed not only to the governor, lieutenant governor, again, Senator Castro, Representative Ma, Ryan, we got to say it one more time, and so many other people in this room, is that it was not done for people who are differently abled, but with. That people, their voice has been part of this from the top on down. So many meetings, so many hours. I think, Representative Mott, you really started to speak to this. Nothing without our voice. And so with that, I'd like to invite everybody who has had such an incredible part of putting this together to come over and invite the governor to come to the table to sign this bill.
feel like Ryan should join us.